Welcome to a world where emotions wear crowns, and every heartbeat echoes through golden corridors, where love is not just a feeling, but a kingdom of its own. When love becomes a kingdom, even kings bow, a story born not from fairy tales, but from the ink of Sheikh Hamdan's soul, where passion meets destiny beneath the soft light of Dubai's moon. In this kingdom, every word is a throne, and every tear, a jewel adorning the heart of a ruler who once believed that power could conquer everything, until love proved him wrong. There was a time when the crown prince believed love was a distraction, a whisper too fragile for the thunder of his responsibilities. But then, she arrived, not with jewels, not with titles, but with eyes that mirrored eternity. She walked into his world like dawn breaking over the desert, and suddenly, the weight of his crown felt lighter, and the palace walls echoed with something they had never known before, the laughter of a soul unafraid to love a king. Every glance between them became a secret language, every meeting a silent vow written in the air between heartbeats. The royal corridors, once ruled by protocol and pride, began to hum with poetry. He would write beneath the moonlight, his ink trembling with emotions that neither his advisors nor the throne could ever understand. For the first time, Sheikh Hamdan was not writing as a prince, but as a man who had found his reflection in another's soul. Love became his rebellion, his sanctuary, his truth. He discovered that in the vastness of his empire, her smile was the only territory he truly wished to conquer. She didn't see him as a ruler, but as a dreamer, as a poet trapped beneath layers of tradition. And he adored her for that. For seeing the boy behind the title, for holding his heart without fearing its scars. In her silence, he found peace, in her voice, he found purpose. Days turned into whispered nights, and the world outside their moments began to fade. The prince who once commanded armies now surrendered to the softness of her hands. He learned that love does not demand a throne, it creates one within the heart. And in that realization, even his crown began to bow to something greater, the kingdom of emotion that no law could govern, and no title could define. But love in a royal world is never without its trials. Rumors danced through the marble halls, and eyes watched from the shadows. There were whispers that a prince should not kneel for love, that a ruler's heart must be guarded behind walls of duty. Yet, Fazza smiled through it all, for he knew, what is a kingdom without a queen who rules the soul, not the palace? What is a crown without the warmth of love to give it meaning? He wrote poems that no one dared to read aloud, lines that bled with honesty and grace. In your eyes, he once penned, I see the only throne I would ever kneel before. His poetry became his confession, and the world became his witness. The people saw not just a prince, but a man who had surrendered his pride to the power of feeling, and in that surrender, he became greater than any title could make him. There were moments when she doubted, when she feared the weight of his world might crush the simplicity of their bond. But he reassured her, not with promises, but with presence. He would walk beside her through the desert wind, whispering words that melted the distance between their worlds. You are not beneath me, he said one night, his voice softer than the stars, you are beside me, where love placed you, not destiny. Time moved, as it always does, but some loves do not fade, they evolve. His duties grew heavier, but his heart never forgot the rhythm that first taught it how to feel. When he spoke to his people, his words carried the gentleness of someone who had learned compassion through heartbreak. The poet in him had become the prince the world admired, not for his wealth, but for the wealth of his emotions. Even now, when the world sees Fazza smiling beneath the royal banners, they cannot see the invisible kingdom within him, the one built on her laughter, guarded by her memory, ruled by the quiet strength of love that once defied tradition. That kingdom, unseen yet eternal, is where his heart still bows every night. For love, he realized, is not weakness, it is sovereignty of the soul. To love deeply is to reign beyond the limits of crowns and thrones. In the empire of emotions, even kings must bow, not in defeat, but in reverence. And when he writes, when his poetry graces the hearts of millions, every word carries her spirit, the queen of a kingdom only they knew. She may not stand beside him in ceremonies or portraits, but her essence lingers in his verses, in the pauses between his breaths. Every poem he shares with the world is a monument to the love that taught him humility, strength, and truth. Through her, he learned that the greatest power a man can hold is not authority, but tenderness. As the desert winds continue to whisper his name, so does the memory of their love. A love that turned a prince into a poet, a ruler into a believer. And when night falls over Dubai and the moonlight touches the palace gates, you can almost hear his words floating in the air. When love becomes a kingdom, even kings bow, for no throne is higher than the one built by the heart. And so, the legend of Fazza lives on, not just in titles, not just in power, but in the poetry of a man who proved that even in royalty, love reigns supreme. For when love becomes a kingdom, the heart, not the crown, wears the true crown of gold. Yet there were moments when the ache returned, sudden, fierce, beautiful in its cruelty. A scent, a song, a memory could pull him back to the days when love was tangible. But even in that ache, there was gratitude. He would smile through the pain and whisper, "Even if I cannot have you beside me, I am grateful you once walked through my soul." Love, he learned, is not measured by possession, but by the transformation it leaves behind. Sometimes, during royal gatherings, he would glance at the horizon through the palace windows, and his eyes would drift far beyond the kingdom's borders. Those who saw him thought he was lost in thought, but only he knew he was looking at the invisible thread that still connected them. For true love never needs proximity, it exists in every heartbeat that refuses to forget. And he never did. His writings became the bridge between his public smile and private sorrow. Each poem was a key to a hidden room in his heart. He shared them with the world, not to reveal his wounds, but to heal others who carried their own. People from across the world found solace in his verses, unaware that the comfort they found was born from his pain. In their tears, he found purpose, in their admiration, he found peace. The love that once belonged to one woman had now become a gift to millions. The kingdom adored their prince, not only for his wisdom but for his depth. They called him the Poet King, the ruler whose heart could feel beyond borders and beyond titles. And he smiled, because perhaps this was what destiny had planned all along, not a love that ended, but a love that transcended. Through her, he became the man he was meant to be. Through loss, he found meaning. Through heartbreak, he found immortality. There are whispers that sometimes, late at night, the palace lights flicker in one corner, the room where his pen still moves, writing verses that no one will ever read. Those are the words he keeps only for her, the ones too sacred for the world. He writes to her spirit, to the memory that still reigns quietly in the palace of his heart. When love becomes a kingdom, he writes one last time, even kings bow, because no power can compare to the strength it takes to love, and to keep loving, even in silence. And so,